Welcome to another episode of DFW Spotlight on Business with Heidi Hardy. Wow, it is Wednesday, and Wednesday came really fast. In fact, the whole year is sort of speeding by, in my opinion. I have a wonderful guest in the studio, Michael Christopher. Thank you for being here today.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, I think we talked weeks ago, but this sort of jumped out and happened quickly, in my opinion.
Very quickly.
So Merry Christmas to everyone, and the holidays are in full swing at my house. How about you?
We're getting there.
Are you?
We're going to have a lot going on the holidays, so we're building up.
Yeah, it's a crescendo, definitely. Oh my gosh, I think we start right after Thanksgiving, and then the holidays come. So it's a little bit of a relief after that. For a couple days. But this is the DFW Spotlight on Business. Thank you for being here with us today. I do this show for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is we have a rich, robust, diverse business community in DFW. And I know Michael would agree.
Oh, definitely. And
one of the things that I love about Dallas-Fort Worth, for those of you who aren't used to the DFW acronym, is that there are so many business owners with these fantastic stories. And some of the stories are about challenge and loss, and some of them are about success and balance. And it just brings the business community together, because ultimately we want our business community to succeed.
Definitely.
So our communities can prosper.
Right.
And that's what it's about. So thank you for being here. Again, I want to remind you guys that you can go to Facebook. Please go to Facebook and like us. Also on, we have a Twitter account. It's Heidi_Hardy. And I love to get those tweets about the show. Just follow us. Just help us. Tell us more about what you want to see and what you want to talk about. And we'll be able to hopefully, get that going as soon as possible. I'm excited for the new year. 2018 is around the corner.
Be a big year.
It is. It's going to be a big year. big year. So, and we'll talk about what that means for you and your business. I know for me, it's just I get excited when the new year rolls around. It's a new opportunity to sort of take a fresh look at things and get ready.
Assess things, build up, start over.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes to get going again.
That's right. I will tell you, the diet went downhill after Thanksgiving. So I'm going to be one of those cliche people that's like, all right, I'm going to exercise every day and go up back and eat well. So we'll see how long that will last. But I have enjoyed every minute of this holiday season. And so thank you for being here. We will have a show next week. I know it's going to be after Christmas, but we have Dr. Marie Holiday here, and she's called Doc Holiday, and you can't miss a show called Doc Holiday.
Oh, definitely.
She's amazing. amazing business owner in Fort Worth. Okay. This show is sponsored by Real Life Media, LLC. And you can find out more information about Real Life Media at reallifemediallc.com. And what Real Life Media does is it custom produce podcasts and radio shows like this for you or your business and your message. So if you think that this would help your business grow, if you know that audio content and content marketing is a big part of 2018, give us a call, send me an email. We'll be able to put a show together for you in no time and coach you through this process. I know it can be a little bit, I don't know, if you haven't done it before, or
it's a little overwhelming sometimes, but yeah,
it's a feeling. You're talking to people, and I don't know. I think most people get a little nervous when they're in front of the camera or in front of the mic, and we make it very easy. We make it very comfortable.
Very easy. This has been great.
Good. Well, hopefully you'll think that way. By the time we'll be best buds by the time at the end of the show. But this is one of my favorite parts of the show, and that's just to talk about what the topic of the show is. I called it a couple of things, but I really had to wrap my head around the message I wanted us to bring to the audience. And so the topic is why building a network builds success. And as I got to know Michael, it made so much sense. His story, some of the ways that he's built his business, and some of the business that's come to him has been through
networking, definitely.
Networking and relationships.
Right.
So he's one of the best examples, in my opinion, of someone who has utilized that tool and can help us utilize it in 2018. So, hold on to your seats, because that's coming in the show. That's what the show is about, is really, how do you leverage and build your business with your network. And but before we get started on the DFW in the know, which is our segment where we talk about a certain article, I just, when I say network, I mean human capital. I mean people, and you do too. Definitely.
Okay. Even though we're a technology company, it's the human capital that's extremely important, probably most important.
Absolutely. And so part of the reasons I said that was because you're a tech, most technical companies think of network in a whole different way. Right. But it works the same. It's connecting people or connecting wires and cables, but connections that are important.
Extremely important.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I sent this article to Michael, and I said, hey, we're going to talk about this. And he was so cool. He's like, yeah. Sounds good. So this article is from entrepreneur.com, and the title of the article is 5 Rules for Building Strong Connections. And I find these articles, really, you just have to Google it, and some stuff pops up. But I really like to start with just an open conversation about some of the thoughts that this author wrote down. Sure. About what they think of when they think of connections. So number 1, they said to start early, and how they explain that is start building your network when you start building your product or your business. You can become very busy, and if you do start growing your business, sometimes you forget to get out there and build a network and nurture the network. And so, what are your thoughts on that?
You definitely want to start early, and one of the challenges in having a small business is you have to deliver and sell at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes we get so caught up in the delivery we forget to sell. So when that part of the project is over, all of a sudden we have nothing to do.
Yep.
And we have to go hunting again.
Yep.
So it's trying to keep that cycle going. And definitely, in my case, I actually started selling and started thinking about things and building that network even about a year or 2 before I actually started the business.
And again, that's amazing, because having that forethought that far out is probably very helpful once you get the business rolling.
It was extremely helpful, just sort of organizing my thoughts, what I wanted to do and how I wanted to get started, and also starting to build that customer base or the context that I could go to once I was ready to go.
Yeah. Awesome. So number 2, and they said make a list. So what they mean by this is most people know that they have to start networking, and the first thing that they recommend is to make a list of what you need help with when you start marketing. What is it that are you building a network for finance? Are you building a network for marketing, selling? Or are you building a network for vendor resources? So any thoughts on that? And
there are definitely lots of different lists, particularly what kind of customers, what's your target market?
Absolutely.
So who do I need to start meeting? And then also who are potential partners that could help me in delivering that and being able to get my product out there. So actually, several different types of lists is what I would recommend.
Not just one list.
Not just
lots of lists. I agree. And number 3 is take advantage of available resources. And I don't know, did you get a chance to read that?
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
There are lots of different types of resources out there, and everything from the different organizations. The Chamber of Commerce is one that we talked about that I took advantage of and was extremely helpful. Social media is helpful. We tend to rely a little too much on social media, I think, at times. Building a network on LinkedIn isn't necessarily a network if you're not reaching out to those people and actually building relationships. Having 500 connections on LinkedIn means you press the accept button 500 times is what that means. So there's some work behind that too.
Yes. Yeah. No, I can really appreciate that. And you're spot on. They do mention things like SCORE
Right.
and the SBA. Those are some resources out there for small business owners.
Right. And that part of that network is looking at, okay, what type of help do I get? What type of education do I need?
Sure.
What type of regular training do I need? Because we will need to educate yourself over and over again to stay current with what you're doing. But then also potential partners that are out there. If I can't provide this service, I don't want to walk away from an opportunity. I want to include someone else in so I can still have that opportunity, but expand what I can deliver also.
That is a great point. And we're going to come back to that because I part of my network and my relationship building has 100% to do with that. If somebody asks me for help or recommendation, I want to be ready so that I'm that resource for that person.
Right.
And then the partnership comes when, can you work together? Is this something that, you can collaborate on? So great. Yep. We're going to get more into that. I think that's a great point. The number 4 is do your homework. And when you're busy starting a business, time is a commodity of which you will never have enough. And before wasting it on trying to make connections with someone, do your homework and make sure you can both benefit from each other.
The internet is a powerful tool. Google
Yes.
is a powerful tool.
Yes.
You need to know as much as you can walking into an opportunity as you can to know whether or not do I even want to spend time on this or should I walk away? Is it better to just walk away from this? It isn't something I can do, or it is something I can do. But research your client, research your prospects, research yourself from time to time just to see what
That's
other
a
people
good
are seeing about you. But there's so much information out there now that you need to do your homework and be prepared, particularly as a small business.
Absolutely. And one of the things I'll bring back to what you just said is the LinkedIn. So maybe it's not how people build relationships, but maybe it's a great way to find out more about the person you're about to meet or the prospect that you're about to meet.
It's a great research tool.
Yeah.
Great research tool.
Yeah, it is.
And then other things like Twitter and Facebook. Find out what is their social media presence. What are they talking about? What are the passions they're showing online?
Yeah.
What's that persona that's online? What information is out there about that company? So you know what direction they're going in.
Yeah. Great point. Great point. And then number 5 says make a real connection. And I'm not even going to mention what they say in here. What does that mean to you?
A real connection to me is that at some point you're going to have to communicate. Mm-hmm. And communicate is different for different people at different levels. I actually have one business partner I've been working with for 7 years now. Have never shaken his hand or looked him in the eye. But we've been working together for 7 years. He's it's a constellation software man named Abhishek Misra. It's one of my top resources. He is in Pune, India.
Okay. So it's not that you met and didn't look at him. It's that you've never met in person.
We've never physically met.
Okay.
We speak every Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
And for an hour and a half minimum, I've actually met his family online. He's met my family online. My son has actually met him in person. But we've had a great working relationship and actually have done some incredible things, but have never actually physically been in the same room together.
So that's a great example of a connection that's actually a relationship.
Right.
So handing somebody your card and call me, that's not.
It's way beyond that. Way beyond.
That's not a connection in the networking. Yeah, it is. Well, I appreciate that. And I actually have some people that they've been a mentor to me, or I've called for advice, or they vice versa, that I've never met in person. I see them on Facebook. We talk on the phone every now and then, and it's a pretty cool relationship when you can build it. It's
sincerity and depth.
Yeah,
and a lot of depth in what you're getting and what you're communicating to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I think authenticity is an important piece when we're talking about connections and network.
Right.
And we'll talk more about that at the end of the show. But hopefully this was helpful. I thought that the 5 were very, very. They sounded like something that somebody could pick up.
That's a great
run
article.
With it.
Great article.
Yeah. So number 1 is start early, as Michael said, 1 or 2 years even before you get your product rolling or your business. Make lists, not just one list.
Multiple lists.
Multiple lists, but lists are good because it really does help you wrap your head around who are you talking to, who do you need to talk to.
Right.
And number 3 is take advantage of available resources. You mentioned a few that I don't know that I was even considering. So Thank you. Do your homework. Make sure that you really do go to somebody's website, find out who they are. And I liked your suggestion about social media. You know, what are they talking about? What are they buzz about?
Exactly. You know their passions. You can identify what they're really thinking and where they're going.
Yeah. And that helps to make a real connection. And that's number 5, is make that real connection.
Right.
So, we're going to go to break here in about, I think we have a minute and a half or so. What I'd like to do, I'm not going to read your bio during this segment, but maybe give us a minute and a half of who Michael Christopher is, and then we'll go straight into talking about you and your business.
Sure. Native Texan, actually grew up. I was born in East Texas.
Okay.
Grew up down near Houston and went to school in Austin. Came here to the Dallas area right out of college, and been here since then. I guess all but 2 years. I spent 2 years out in West Texas.
Okay.
But came out of school, worked for IBM for 30 years, and then retired after 30 years, started Elemental Methods.
That's right. And actively working in the DFW area. Your business is here?
DFW area, all over the country, really. We a lot of the work we're doing has been all over the country. Right now, we're working with a group out of North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and the east coast of Florida.
Okay. So all over.
And,
wonderful.
But long reach, and a lot of that is through those connections. So we don't really advertise. Most of our opportunities and our projects are actually from word of mouth and from things that we found where we've been referred by others.
So, once again, you're listening to DFW Spotlight on Business. I absolutely love that part of your story, Michael, because and it really was part of, like, I want to know more. How are you doing that? How are you wholly getting the business that you are getting, growing your business by this referral source? And I suspect it's a lot of the things that we listed here.
Oh, definitely.
You're doing.
Definitely.
So you are listening to DFW Spotlight on Business. This is Heidi Hardy. We are going to take a quick break to look at an Insperity Biz moment, and we'll be right back.
Welcome to today's Biz Moment, brought to you by Insperity, inspiring business performance. We present to you steps to giving your boss constructive criticism. Your boss is behaving in a way that makes the whole team less productive, and you feel like it's time to have the talk. Take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. Here's how to get through it. Step number 1, identify the problem. Be clear and concise with your explanation of the issue, and then offer potential solutions. After all, you don't want to lay out a problem and don't have any ideas on how to solve it, right? Step 2, frame the conversation. Focus on the good and be specific about the negative impacts your boss's behavior has on the team, but don't belabor the point. This is constructive criticism, after all, not destructive criticism. Step number 3, listen. Allow for a response after you've laid out the situation. No ranting allowed. This is not the internet. This is real life. Step number 4, always assume your boss wants the same things that you do, which is a positive, productive work environment. Give them the benefit of the doubt, just like you would have them do unto you. It's the golden rule. Step number 5, be mindful of when and how you should start the conversation with your boss. If it's related to a specific incident, try to address the issue as soon after as possible. However, put on those brakes. Also keep in mind you might need to develop a more positive and closer relationship before either of you is comfortable having a frank discussion, especially when it involves some criticism. However, no matter what you decide, we'd love for you to stay tuned for more Insperity Biz Moments, business tips for savvy leaders. For more like these, visit the Insperity blog at insperity.com.
And welcome back. This is Heidi Hardy. You're watching DFW Spotlight on Business, and I am here in the studio with Michael Christopher. Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, so if you missed the first part of the show, Michael is the managing director for a company called Elemental Methods. We had the opportunity to talk about the topic of the show, and that is why building a network builds success and builds business. Michael's had some success in that that area, so we're going to sort of pick his brain and find out what he does. And but before we get started, he sent me a bio, and I normally don't read the bio, but it's so interesting. I would like to read most of it, and then we'll get into the whole the details. So Michael Christopher is the managing director and co-owner of Elemental Methods LLC, an information technology consulting and software development firm. Prior to founding Elemental Methods, Mr. Christopher led an IBM consulting practice supporting travel and transportation clients, and was responsible for the implementation of airline crew scheduling systems, self-service kiosk, and passenger service environments. He retired from IBM after a 30-year career specializing in the development and implementation of complex IT solutions in multiple industry segments. Mr. Christopher is leading the firm's consulting and application development efforts involving the integration of mobile technology with enterprise systems and business processes. The company's clients are in a wide range of industries, all with a common focus on productivity improvement, process efficiency, and client satisfaction. They include the Hart Institute for Gulf of Mexico Studies at Texas A&M University, Corpus Christi, Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, the Snook and Game Fish Foundation, the South Atlantic Fishery Management Council, Glory House Catering and Bistro, and the NOAA, National Marine Fisheries Service. That for me was another part of the interesting part of the story, because you produced an app,
Right.
for the fisheries, and we're going to get into that. Let me just read the last part of this. In testimony before the Committee on Natural Resources, Eric Schwab, the Assistant Administrator for NOAA, National Marine Fisheries Service, described the agency's focus on promising new technologies to record recreational fishing data. These technologies include the iSnapper and iAngler software developed by Elemental Methods. Earlier this year, Mr. Christopher served on a blue ribbon panel convened to develop recommendations to Congress and the Trump administration regarding the modernization of fisheries information systems. I absolutely am, intrigued by what you do.
I was intrigued by that too.
I wanted everybody to know, because I think we could have just glossed over that, and they're like, what does he do again? The way I understand it in our conversations is that you help the marine life organizations measure fish and
The quantity of fish caught.
The quality of fish caught?
And there's actually a law called the Magnuson-Stevens Act, federal law, that gives the federal government the authority to set catch limits for certain fish species off the coast of the United States.
Okay.
All
coast?
All coast.
Okay.
And so that data is collected, and one of the challenges they had was being able to collect data from recreational fishing. For commercial fishing, it's pretty easy because it's food, so they actually track that through the process. For recreational fishing, there's really only a few ways of getting data, and that's either phone calls or surveys, or actually meeting boats at the dock to ask them what they caught. So a lot of data's not there, and if the data's not correct and the limits are set incorrectly, we could end up overfishing. Some species could be in danger of being driven to extinction. So government sets limits, and data is required to do that. And one of the things that we found was that the new concept of citizen science says that we all are able to participate in providing data for these different things. And the mobile phone turns out to be the perfect technology to do that, because we all have one.
Absolutely. And they usually make it on the boat for recreational fishermen. So what I find fascinating is that you're not just creating this technology but you're participating in this research and this data collection. So that wasn't something you did before.
We had no plans to do that at all.
Okay.
No idea.
Okay.
No idea. And it was one of the niches that we sort of fell into, because we planned to do traditional IT work,
right?
Mostly at the mid-range, large company server level. But one of the challenges we had was we started in 2010. The other thing that started in 2010 was the second largest economic downturn in the history of our country.
It was terrible. I remember. Yes.
So all of the companies that we had planned to work with, all that list that I brought from IBM of the customers that I had worked with before, none of them were actually hiring outside contractors to do anything.
Yeah.
So it was, okay, what are we going to do now? And in meeting with customers, one of the things they kept asking was, do you do mobile? And finally we said, sure. And actually did a mobile app. Actually, the first one, Glory House, here in Irving, was the first one we did. And then we started actually looking at other opportunities and responded to an RFP from through a chamber program. The Irving Chamber had a program where we had access to requests for proposals issued by state entities.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about how that worked. But yeah, that was a chamber program.
It was a chamber program. And so we responded to a request for proposal from Texas A&M Corpus Christi, the research institute there. They had a grant from NOAA to develop a iPhone application for charter captains to record and report their red snapper catches while they were on the water. And we won that contract, built the app, and ended up building a server system for them to record on the iPhone what they had caught, or the iPads. They all ended up with iPads. Logged that while they were on the water coming in. Would go to a website. They would go on, do edits, make sure it was okay. Every night, every Monday night, it was transmitted to the Gulf Council and then on up through the Commerce Department.
I just find that incredibly interesting, especially the part where you started off with that traditional thought process of, this is what my business is going to do.
Right.
And this is important. This is really important, because I believe that that's what a lot of business owners start off with. And the flexibility to look at these different opportunities. So when somebody said, hey, there's an RFP, you should apply for it, did you think they were crazy, or did you jump on it because it was a great opportunity? What went through your mind?
At that time, I jumped on it because it just seemed like we needed to do something.
Okay.
And it was within what we could do, or what we thought we could do. So we just jumped on it. Didn't hear anything for a long time.
Well, it's the government.
It's the government. It's the government.
Sorry, government.
And finally, got a call, and the guy asked if we were still available to do it. I said, sure. And I said, you mean I won? He said, no, you came in second.
Oh.
But the guy who came in first said he can't do it within the amount of time required. So
right.
I said, well, I can do it. And we did it. It was wildly successful, and it just has rippled from there.
And again, what a great lesson to be ready.
Always be ready.
Be ready for, especially if you haven't heard, when you say a long time, do you mean a month? Do you mean a year?
It was about, probably about 4 months.
Okay. Yeah, that's a long time for a
long
business.
time. Usually you hear within a month whether or not you actually got the project.
And I guess because you came in second, that they had to go through that whole process of talking to this guy and figuring out that he didn't have.
He said there was enough time with the deadline they had to actually get it done. So
how auspicious. There's nothing lucky about it. It's that you were ready, you applied, you knew what you guys can do, and you said yes. And so congratulations on that success. And so you said it's rolled into other opportunities. What types of well, I know you and I had this conversation, and I couldn't get enough. I was just so intrigued. Not that I'm a big fisherman at all. I know my husband every once in a while will click on the television and we'll start watching the Bass Pros catch fish.
Sure.
But what's interesting to me is that it has different applications and different opportunities to serve different markets, and the pro fisherman market is a market that you serve now.
Right. We actually, from all the different applications that we created, and from that one project that was presented at the Gulf Council was wildly successful, well beyond what we imagined, and we started getting calls for different things. And so we ended up working with the Snook and Game Fish Foundation out of Florida, and they were closely working with the Florida Wildlife Commission in providing catch data that was used in setting the catch limits for different species in Florida. And in one of the conversations with marine biologists from Florida Wildlife Commission, they mentioned that they'd never been able to get catch information from fishing tournaments. So we put together a focus group and met down in the Keys, which was a great place to meet.
Yeah, I had to go to the Keys for work.
But we had some of the tournament fishermen, some fishing guides, and a guy that actually owned a tournament series, along with the marine biologist, and sat and worked through what would a system look like and what's the minimum information that the marine biologist would like to see. And so we ended up creating a system that would allows you to have a fishing tournament, manage a fishing tournament, but it's catch photo release. So you catch the fish, take a picture of it on a measuring device, release the fish, and it's judged and scored based on the measurement.
Which is absolutely amazing. I think we talked about some ways they were doing it before this technology. And
one of the big challenges, and you mentioned the fishing tournaments that you see on TV, and you see the guys in all the logoed shirts, and they're holding up the fish, and a lot of those fish die.
Yeah.
Because they've either been carried in live wells for part of the day, or they've been returned to the water, but in a different part of the lake or a different part of that body of water than the part where they usually live. And so mortality rate's pretty high for those.
Okay. So with this app, it's instant. It's take a picture.
Take a picture. Fish is usually out of the water probably 30, 45 seconds.
And perfect. Throw them back. They're fine.
Throw them back, and then we've got everything we need to score the tournament. And then the researchers afterwards have information about the length of the fish, the condition of the fish, because they also get information on where it was hooked, what was the condition when it was returned to the water. Plus, they have a photo of the fish, so they can do species identification and a high-resolution photo, so they can drill down and actually see the fish and inspect the fish. And a lot of that is used to just figure out what's the health of that body of water. We do, for some groups, what we call conservation tournaments, where for a body of water, they just have everyone in the community come out and fish. A lot of times they'll promote it for the kids. Record everything you catch. And that way they can tell what species are there, how big are they, and just how well is that body of water doing.
And that's got to feel good, because it has an ecosystem benefit as far as the healthy bodies of water, and giving them the data where they can do something like limit the certain types of species that are being caught. Or
definitely, and beyond that, we're working. I guess this will be the fourth year coming up that we've worked with the Coastal Conservation Association in Florida for their Star Tournament, which is a huge fundraiser. Big fishing tournament, 100 days of fishing, runs from Memorial Day to Labor Day, and everyone's out fishing. We had 6,000 people last year, and last year was the first year they introduced a trash division, and so along with the measuring tape for the tournament, they gave everyone a 5-gallon bucket.
Oh, how interesting!
And you could fill the bucket up with trash that you collected on the water while you were fishing. Take a picture, submit it, and then it went in for a drawing. And along with that, large objects, they could submit those and geotag it so that could be reported to the State Department to be picked up. So they actually had a couple of abandoned boats, furniture, tires, all kinds of things.
Yeah, we live on Lake Arlington, and the lake often, just dries up. Mm-hmm. The stuff on the bottom of that,
it's a little scary.
It's a little scary. Scary. But again, and you can understand, we've sat and talked a couple times, and it's just so interesting to me, the evolution of what you started, then how it's created, like you said, a ripple of opportunities. So we're going to go to break here in just a moment. And one of the things I wanted to make sure to reiterate is you were a small business during a critical time in the economy.
Right, very critical.
I opened a business in 2008, and so I'm with you on that one. And what you thought was going to happen didn't.
Right.
And so through the opportunity of your network at the chamber.
Definitely.
And so you don't leave, because we're going to really dig into, how that worked. We talked about the chamber was the Irving Chamber that you're affiliated with.
Right.
And actually you are on the board of the Irving
Yes.
Chamber today, Irving Las Colinas Chamber. It's a lovely chamber, very good resource. So when we get back, we're going to go into a little bit of what you did to, how you're using your network. You built the network. They helped you build your business, and what you're doing today and what your plans to do in the future. Definitely. Sound good? All right. You're listening to DFW Spotlight on Business. This is Heidi Hardy, and we will be right back.
Welcome to today's Biz Moment, brought to you by Insperity, inspiring business performance. Wondering if you can be both a nice and effective boss? Survey says, ding, 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 yes, it is possible. And here are 5 ways to earn the respect of your employees in a positive, nice, kind way. Number 1, talk about the tough stuff. Build respect and camaraderie by giving your team honest feedback, delivering difficult news in person, not with an email. Don't cop out, and remaining unbiased when a conflict arises. Number 2, give credit where it's due. Recognizing employees for a job well done acknowledges their efforts, and showing genuine appreciation can help motivate them to rise to future work-related challenges. Not everything can be your victory. You have to share it with the team that helped you get there. Step number 3, stay in tune with the team by doing group meditations. I'm just kidding. By making your expectations clear. Don't leave them guessing or assume they know what is expected of them, because after all, we know what happens to you and me when we make assumptions. Step number 4, help others excel as well as yourself. Seek out training on new leadership techniques and be open to constructive criticism. Encourage employees to do the same by seeking out professional development opportunities. You're getting a development opportunity. You're getting a leadership training. Everyone gets something. Woo! Number 5, remember that life happens. Employees are human, and sometimes life gets difficult. Putting yourself in someone else's shoes is one of the most important and meaningful ways you can be a kind and effective boss. It's called empathy. Stay tuned for more Insperity Biz Moments, business tips for savvy leaders. For more like these, visit the Insperity blog at insperity.com.
And welcome back. Oh, I was telling Michael before the show, if you talk over here, we can't hear you. So I should take my own advice, I guess, huh? Welcome back. This is Heidi Hardy, and you're watching DFW Spotlight on Business, the show that talks to business owners here locally in Dallas-Fort Worth. Today we have Michael Christopher in the studio. Thank you again for being here.
It was my pleasure.
We had, I think, a great first half of the show. If you weren't a part of that first half, you'll have the opportunity to go on demand, and we posted on YouTube. I posted on Facebook. I posted. The studio posted on live stream. Lots of opportunities to watch the show, and this is probably I'm going to predict it's going to be a well-watched show, because what we're really talking about, in my opinion, not just a business owner today who sort of had to be flexible in his business services, but also, I have to say this, and I guess I've said it a couple times on the show. There's a media mogul, Gary Vaynerchuk, and he talks about how if do what you want to do. He wrote some books. One's called Crush It, and it's just about getting out there, start your business, and just put your heart and soul in it. And he did a five minute YouTube video, and the entire video was addressed to people in their 50s. And he said, you know what? I'm so sick and tired. This is not verbatim. I'm so sick and tired of people who are late in their career, who've spent 20 years in their career, and now they're just, in their 50s or 60s, and they're done. They're going to sit back on the lounge chair. He said, this is the time in your life that you can really start another encore success. If you had success, or if you didn't have success, this is an opportunity to go get some success. And I think you're a perfect example of that. Again, 30 years at IBM, you decided, hey, I'm not done. I'm going to do something else. And you created Elemental Methods.
It's definitely my second act.
Yeah.
And I won't knock the people who say, I'm done, I just want to sit. That's fine.
Oh, no.
I'm just not that type. I can't sit still that long.
Yeah. Well, no. And I you're right. There's nothing wrong if you want to be on the chair. Nothing wrong with that. Sorry if it came across that way. Like it really, Gary Vaynerchuk, what he was saying was if there's something you love and you're passionate about, or that, you're good at, why not, create something with that and create revenue for you and your family as you do what you love.
Definitely. And that approach has actually helped us, because one of the things that we've tried to do is we want to be a small company, so we don't want to grow. So there's a lot of and we're in the software development industry, so we go from project to project. There is a wealth of talent out there that's retired.
Yes.
That's very willing to work from project to project, and world-class skills that are no longer in the corporate world, but would love to work on a part-time or a project basis. And so that's one of the resource pools that we've taken advantage of.
Which is excellent and very smart, because like you said, it isn't, bringing on the W-2 employees or some of the.
Right. They are willing to work contract basis. They've already got benefits.
Yep.
And so our resource availability expands and contracts based on the size of the opportunities we have and the number of opportunities. So we've got a sort of a dynamic workforce, and we take advantage of that.
I think that's brilliant. I mean, I definitely know that the people that are working for you are probably pretty stoked and excited about these new projects that are happening for you.
And a lot of it, one of the, I joke with some of my clients, and they'd say, well, what do you guys bring to the table, especially when we're doing mobile development? Because I compared a lot to the .com days, when there are a lot of people out there, and particularly you get someone to say, well, I've got a nephew that can create an app for me. What's different about you? And I like to tell them we bring adult supervision. That we actually understand the business processes and the development discipline to make sure, particularly in a business environment, that you don't get into trouble and you don't have problems and have an app out there that all of a sudden causes more problems than it helps, and actually can destroy your business or hurt your business, do more damage faster than any other way you've been working.
And that is very true. Technology can be a great power, or it can be your downfall.
Exactly. And if you don't know how to integrate it correctly, it could definitely hurt you.
Yeah. And so do you get sideways glances when they they ask, well, you're not a millennial.
All right. I turned 60 this year. So,
I mean, because really a lot of the tech space is just saturated with these, kids that are right out of college and probably started when they were in their early teens. And so do people question that?
You get some funny looks, but one of the things, and we take advantage of that, because you need people like that. And I don't program anymore. So I need those young people
Absolutely.
that know those products, that know those technologies. The one thing that hasn't changed, the concepts haven't changed. Accounting hasn't changed since Bob Cratchit worked for Scrooge. So so all of that is the same. It's just, how do you apply that technology? So we need those young kids that know that technology, but we can also teach them how it works in a business situation and how you implement it correctly to make sure you don't run into problems.
Wonderful. Yeah, no, I'm very excited for you, and Elemental Methods is very impressive. It's impressive how you're scaling it, how it's growing. Now we're going to circle back to at the beginning of the show. Michael said, I don't advertise. I don't market. And so I'm going to give you, a couple of minutes to tell us, what does your day-to-day business look like when you don't market or advertise?
It's yeah, that's a good question. It changes
Take
every
you off
day.
guard. It's like, oh,
It changes every day. A lot of it starts out just sort of looking at the day, mapping out, okay, what's scheduled for today. One of the things, and when I was at IBM, I used to teach a class on how to set up and run your consulting practice. And part of that was setting aside at least one day a week just focused on the business. All your accounting. It's fun to deliver the project. It's not a lot of fun to collect the money, but you have to do that.
Sure.
You have to have time set aside, and actually, for some of us, make the point to actually schedule time where you need to at least touch one customer a day, and have either, whether it's a meeting or phone contact or some way that you're actually reaching out to a customer to make sure, or prospect, to make sure that you're actually actively marketing, and don't get so entranced or involved in the delivery that you forget to sell for the next couple of months or the next quarter.
Right.
So to keep that pipeline going. But so making sure you're managing the business, make sure you're touching the customer, and then also monitoring the work that's being done. So I keep a fairly regular schedule. I mentioned my programmer, Abhishek. He and I meet online video conference 7 a.m. every Tuesday morning. And we talk for about 2 hours going through everything that's going on in the business.
Sure.
And then as needed, we'll communicate via email or have phone calls or video conferences as needed during the week. But every week at that time, we meet to go through what's going on in the business.
So tell us about your activity with the Irving Las Colinas Chamber of Commerce. What I see happens a lot of times is you join the chamber, find little success, whether it's earning an RFP award or getting some business from the chamber, and they sort of then fall off. They don't continue to attend the events, or maybe they don't even continue to be members of the chamber. What drives you to continue that? Not just continue it, but you support them in many ways.
The success that's generated.
Mm-hmm.
When I joined, one of the things that I found, and when I first started the company, Marvin Bond, who is on staff there, is one of the vice presidents. He and I worked together at IBM, and we had lunch together. He said, "You have to join the chamber. It's going to help your business."
So you knew Marvin before?
I knew Marvin
Okay.
before.
Okay.
And so he
Your
said,
network?
yes, there was the network. And so I went ahead and joined the chamber, and they had all these events set up, the coffee break at Glory House. You get up and everyone in the room gets up and does a pitch. And then you have the opportunity, I had the opportunity to be the guest speaker and talk about what I did. And in those events, the chamber gave me opportunities and gives others the opportunity to get up and talk about your business. And if you're a small business, your favorite subject is your business.
Sure, absolutely.
And so it was a chance to talk about it. And then from that audience, I would get a lot of other chamber members saying, well, I want to talk to you about some things. And that turned into business. So those initial relationships turned into business. I keep going back because it continues to turn into business.
And that's part of you're not advertising, you're not marketing, but you are connected.
And then it's also the success in delivering your product. And then the personal integrity that you have turns into word of mouth, and how well you deliver and what people expect. I had one of the biggest compliments recently. I got a call from what is now a client that said, "I got your name. I've got this going on. I was told to call you. You could either fix it or tell me what I need to do to fix it." And to me, that's the ultimate compliment.
It is.
So, and we're working with them now and have a team together and actually partnering with another firm to deliver those services. And it's working very well, but that came in just strictly through word of mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have to say, I'm a big fan of Chamber of Commerce. We had on the Irving Hispanic Chamber of Commerce last week, and we talked about the benefit of joining that chamber. I've had the Irving Chamber on, Beth and Dexter, on a different show that I did. And at the end of the day, it is about the consistency of your commitment to the network that you build within the chamber.
Right.
So I want to make sure that we emphasize that you've put in the years and the time and the volunteer efforts. And so it didn't happen overnight, although you knew some people in the chamber.
It didn't happen overnight, no, because you still have to work that network, participate in those events, get to know those people. I did find that the chamber, once you get to know everyone in there, they actually do a lot of business with each other.
They do.
They trust each other in the delivery, and they come through with that.
They do. They absolutely do. It's a nice, again, in lack of a better word, ecosystem. They really support each other.
Right.
And not just financially, business to business, but I see a lot of mentorship.
Definitely. A lot of opportunities for mentorship and advice on, okay, how should I approach this?
Yeah.
If something's going on, they can give you advice. They may have seen it before or may have seen it in their industry. It could be a little different, but it's information that can help you along.
Absolutely. We had a very new entrepreneur on. He's starting his own consulting business, and he said, "Man, I've already made mistakes." And of course, you're gonna, that first day, you're gonna make mistakes. But what's wonderful about a network, especially one that you've cultivated and nurtured, is what you're describing as the resources available.
Right.
Available resources. So somebody's watching, they have a business. We have a few more minutes. They have a business. They are debating, okay, I'm going to have to do a little bit of marketing and networking. What would your advice be to someone if that's their goal in 2018 is to get out of the minutia of the business, that deep stuff that happens every day, and get out and start creating a brand and creating awareness about them? What kind of advice would you give them?
Get out into the public.
Okay.
Even if you don't feel comfortable speaking right away, at least go in and participate, meet and shake hands. Everyone, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a chamber. The chamber worked for me, and I think it's an excellent vehicle. But for all industries, there are trade organizations, there are community organizations, there are different things that are focused around what you do.
Right.
And you can participate in those. You're around like-minded people that are focused on the same thing. So there's some learning you can get just from being there and being around those people. But you start to get to know people that are doing what you want, and then they can give you sort of advice on things they've done. But you have to get out and meet those people that are either in your industry, and not necessarily in your industry, but where your customers.
Yeah.
It's like the old, why do you rob banks? That's where they keep the money. If you know where your customers are and what they're doing, that's where you should be. Right.
Right. Yes. And so sort of wrapping this up, because we've got a couple more minutes. I wanted to make sure that we mentioned also back to what a network is. A network, if you can visualize an individual that you connect with, that individual probably isn't your customer.
Probably not. Could be, but probably not.
Probably. But behind them are 10 more people.
Right.
And behind those people are 10 more people.
Right.
And so what we're trying to create is the connection between that individual that may not be your customer, but the connection to the 10 people behind them, and so on and so on.
Exactly. And being part of that network, there are events, there are conversations, there are things that happen where if something comes up that aligns with you, your name will come up with it.
It absolutely does. That's another good point that I want to make sure that we make is it's one thing to make a connection and build relationships. I love doing that. But what I have found is when I do get busy, I do kind of fall off the face of the earth for a little while because I'm so busy. And then I get back into the network and people are like, "Hey, I haven't seen you in a while. You know, what's going on?" And what I learned, and I had a colleague, Michael Stammer, called me one day. He hadn't heard from me in 6 months or something. He said, he goes, "I just want to give you some advice. I really like talking to you and having lunch." He said, "Just let me know you're doing okay. Every now and then, shoot me an email. Let me know you're doing okay." And I thought about that. It was really profound for me because I did think about him. I saw him on Facebook. I saw him doing his thing, but I didn't nurture or reach out. And so there's a little work to be done to make sure that you stay in touch with your network.
Right. Right. And whether it's online or physically, there's a trade show for the fishing industry, the sport fishing industry, largest in the world, every summer in Orlando. And I attend that just so I can see what's going on, and I can see all of those people, a lot of those people that I work with. I've got clients that are going to be there. They're going to introduce me to other people. And then there are people that I've worked with in the past, but it gives me an opportunity to connect with them just so I can see what they've been doing, and I can tell them what I've been doing. But it's a way to connect and keep that connection going.
Yeah, the nurturing of it. So hopefully you guys have learned something and with us today. Thank you again for being here. Very, very, very great story.
It's my pleasure.
How would somebody reach out to you if they wanted to know more about Elemental Methods?
They can find us at two different places. As I mentioned, we've sort of got two different businesses now.
Okay.
They can find us online at elementalmethods.com or ianglertournament.com.
Okay.
And for both of those via email, mchristopher@elementalmethods.com or mchristopher@iangler.com.
If nothing else, you got to meet him. Oh my gosh, he's got great stories.
Anglertournament.com.
Yeah.
Let me correct that.
Okay. And then we didn't even get to that piece, but thank you guys for listening. I hope this helps you in your new year planning. Networks are so important, and that includes you. So we really appreciate you. You've been listening to DFW Spotlight on Business, and I'm Heidi Hardy, and it's getting close to that new year, so we're looking forward to spending that with you. I don't have a thought for the week, but I will say that I do wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and lots of joy and love and success for the 2018 new year. I'm going to end by saying, hey, don't forget to live your real life passionately.
Definitely.